Hello, hello, hello. Today we are talking about my hardest breakup, which was breaking up with my dream. I believe so many people grieve when they have to break up with their dream, when they have to break up with a dream that they know that won't be realized, when they have to break up with that version of themselves or that future that they see from themselves. And it's something that's not talked about often, but I want to talk about it today and really just tell you all my story of how I had to break up with my own dream to make rooms for a new dream. So, for a really long time, I had this dream of becoming a medical doctor. And it was my first year in university, and I was taking a chemistry class. I absolutely hate is a strong word, but I absolutely hated it. But I loved my communications course. I loved the language arts course that I was in, so writing, English. I was really drawn, right, to the humanities and the arts, and any class that I was really taking within the STEM realm, I wasn't a fan of. I was sitting there, I was doing the work, but I didn't enjoy it. It literally felt like someone was pulling out my teeth to be in these classes. And I knew that something wasn't right when I would literally be a part of my different study groups and there was joy in them studying or getting a problem right or even getting a problem wrong and then finding a way to work towards the right answer. While even if I got a question right, it was just like, okay, I got a question right, but there really wasn't any excitement behind it. I also just wasn't in my zone of genius, but compared to my humanities courses and my art classes that I was taking, that's where I felt most alive. Time would literally pass me by and I wouldn't even notice. And these are classes that were an hour and a half long. And I would literally say, wait, we're leaving now. And it's just one of those things that was really hard because I had this idea of literally becoming a medical doctor. Everything was lined up for me to do that. And I had been thinking about this for so long to even when I was in high school, the different clubs that I was a part of, the classes that I were taking were more rigorous so that I could be prepared to take these certain college classes to then prepare me for medical school, quote unquote. And so for a whole entire semester, I really was miserable in these different classes that I had signed up for. But I think the most miserable thing about it was just realizing in that moment that the path that I had set myself on wasn't the path that I truly wanted to go on. And I was at a crossroads and I really had to make that decision for myself. And it was just so difficult because for years, almost 10 years, the idea of where I was headed was to become a doctor. And I had narrowed it down within my years of schooling of becoming a neurosurgeon or a neurologist or doing something with the mind, which still works out because I love what I do now with mindset coaching and thinking about the mind and how all the things work together. So still in the room, but it looks different. But during that time, I didn't see this vision of what my life now looks like. And so I just wasn't ready for it. And it's one of those things where it's like the longer that you wait, the more that you suffer. And I suffered many, many nights of just crying myself to sleep because I didn't feel like myself. I knew that the path that I was on wasn't the one that I was supposed to be on. And it's just something so difficult to have to sit and to have to really say to yourself, you're going to have to make a change. And in making that change, there was a part of me that was worried about what would other people think about me because for so long other people also knew that becoming a medical doctor was also my dream. And so it was something of, if I decide to pursue something else, what are people going to think of me? And I will, let's be honest, right? When people hear that someone, majority of the people, the way that our society is built up, when someone hears, oh, I'm going to university and I'm going to college to become a doctor, it's one of those things where you are so smart and you must be brilliant to want to go into this and to become a doctor or really anything in science versus humanities and the arts where it's seen as easy or seen as simple when really it's about where people operate in their gifts. There are people that I know that used to be in my study groups where they would do great work, right, in science, and then you tell them to write a 10-page paper, and it just didn't work out for them. For them, it was pulling teeth to write a 10-page paper. Well, I literally can write a 10-page paper in less than a day. It takes me no time. I will sit, I'll research, I'll do the whole thing, and get it done like that. But like I said, it really came down to understanding that the validation that I had gotten all these years from the version of me that was becoming a doctor, I wasn't going to get that anymore. You tell somebody that you are getting a degree in computer science or chemistry or biology, and it's like, oh my goodness, that's so good. You must be so smart. You tell someone that you're going to get in communications, and they look at you and they say, what are you going to do with that? Even though there's so much that you can do with that degree, especially if it is a degree that allows you to utilize the gifts that you were given to help serve the world. And so that's something that I really had to come to terms with. And I believe a lot of people do when they are looking to pivot and looking to do something different. It's to come to terms with that you may not get the same validation that you've gotten before based off of where you were headed. And also, some people just may not get it. And that's okay too, because it's not for them to receive, it's for you to understand. Another part of breaking up with a dream that I think is really important to talk about is understanding that you've changed and also understanding that it wasn't a waste of time. There was a point for me where I thought I did so much work to get me to this point, and it felt like I was in the middle of the race and I just completely stopped. And a part of it was feeling like, oh, I'm quitting, and I'm quitting in a way that makes everybody who has poured into me almost disappointed, even though that wasn't true at all, because I took all those lessons that I had got from that time to really help me to make that pivot. So for example, I did science fair when I was in high school, and I did science fair when I was in middle school. There was a lot of research that I did and really gathering tools on how to do research. It was really important when I started writing. It was really important, especially when I started doing a thesis, when I did my thesis my senior year. And it was in that moment, especially during my thesis, where I realized you have the tools that you need to truly succeed at what it is you are now looking at. And it's not about the science of it all, right? But there's research in the humanities, and being able to take what I had learned and apply it to what I was doing then was absolutely amazing, and was really those moments of everything happens for a reason, and you can always pull on tools that you got in this one area to then help you excel in the next area. So it's not so much of I just quit in the middle of the race. It was that I decided to take a different path within the race, but in the same way, it's going to get me to the same destination, which is really just allowing me to be in my purpose. And that's another thing when it comes to dreams, right? It's making sure that we understand that it's not always about what we believe is the quote unquote final destination. It's really about, if you think bigger, you always being in alignment with your purpose and how that can look and show up differently based off the season that you are in your life, and truly understanding that it's not about getting the degree, it's not about getting the accolade, is about making sure that you are truly operating and rooted in purpose in whatever you do, and keeping that at the forefront of your mind is which will allow these dreams you have to continue to grow and really allow you to continue to dream and honor whatever season you are in right now. And so when I finally got past this whole notion of grieving the version of myself that I knew I would no longer become, after I got past of thinking, oh, if I quit, I'll be seen as a failure, after I got past this whole notion of being afraid of the unknown, because I really was in a season where I knew that if I were to let go of this dream that I was currently in, I didn't necessarily know what was next, and that was really scary for me, to not have a plan, to not have a direction, when I've been a person that always had a plan. I had plan A through Z always ready for myself, even though plan A is where we really reside. But to not be able to have a plan at all was very uncomforting for me. And I really had to lean in with being uncomfortable at this time. And when I finally said to myself, okay, it's okay to be uncomfortable, to recognize that, it's also okay to give yourself the space to not know what is next and to use what is happening in your life right now, what are you being drawn to just truly explore and discover what it is that you want right now, but also where you are being called to be and where you are being called to serve. I think about if I would have ignored that moment, all the things that wouldn't have happened, or they just would have happened later. If I would have decided to just stick out the path, to just move forward and continue to ignore the voice in my head that said, it's time for a change, it's time to move to a different direction, I would currently be in medical school looking at residency programs, and I would probably still be miserable because that's just not where I'm supposed to serve. That's not where I'm supposed to be. And so many people would rather sit and stay miserable than just break up with someone. Just break up with the dream. Break up with that version of you that truly isn't you anymore. That's what you have to be willing to do. You have to be willing to discover and truly be a student of yourself again. And when I was able to do that, so much has happened since then. And I think about Beyond the Roots and how it lives because of that one decision that I made. That one decision to honor myself, to listen to myself, to be willing to rediscover what it is I truly wanted and where I was being called to be. Beyond the Roots happened because of that one decision, and I'm forever grateful for it. I'm forever grateful for the shoulder tap. And so if you are someone right now who feels deep inside of you that you are out of alignment, that you are ready to dream something new, but you're scared, you're afraid of what other people may think, you're afraid to be seen as a failure, you're nervous, you don't want to feel like you wasted time doing what you have been doing, or that it was all for nothing. It wasn't for anything. It wasn't for nothing. It's all going to play a role into who you are today. It's gotten you to this point. And you have to be thankful for that version of you that has gotten you to this point, so that you can then get to your next point, whatever that may look like for you. This is literally a reminder to allow yourself to continue to dream, to allow yourself to continue to evolve, and to listen to that voice inside of you, and to trust your intuition, and to trust your gut. I know that this world at every turn has made you doubt yourself, and to doubt if you really know what you are doing. But deep down, there is a knowing within you. And when you get that knowing, you should follow it. Because what you don't want to happen is you don't want to resent yourself for not taking a chance on yourself. I recently heard Viola Davis at an award ceremony where she talked about this quote that states, "True hell is when on your last day of earth, the person that you've become meets the person that you could have became." Because in all of it, you're truly not starting over. You're just evolving and you're growing, and you're allowing what it is that you know now to inform you onto your next decisions. And honestly, even though it was the hardest breakup during the moment, it was the best breakup I could have ever made for myself. Like I said, the best decision, one that at the moment I was really afraid of how other people were going to react, but I got so many warm responses that you may not get, but there's going to be at least one person who gets it. And even then, out of that, I was able to gain such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful community of artists and writers and thought leaders and thinkers who are doing the work that I am currently doing. And so I will leave you all with this. Have the courage to show up for yourself and give yourself permission to allow your dreams and also yourself to evolve. Until next time, be limitless.